والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. There's going to be a mix of a lot of different forms of communication. You know, some words of Allah and His Messenger ﷺ, and then living in the middle of the summer 2024 Bay Area. It's been a heat wave a lot of places, but today just made me think. So we're going to share little words of poetry, spoken word. And this is something I don't think anybody is unfamiliar with listening to this. The temptation of the opposite gender. So any of those that are still considered young, I won't share my age, but this was something that every man in every land in the history of humanity has dealt with, and some more than others. And not to say women don't, but Allah created us different. Men are visually stimulated, women are emotionally stimulated, but they can tell you that yes, looks do matter at certain times. So today after Jumu'ah, I was in Berkeley, California, and it's a university town, the masjid right next to the campus. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because I've been there. I mean, mashallah, the masjid been around for like now 12 years. And I'm like, why are people dressed like this? Like, I didn't even think somebody would wear the same thing they wear in their bedroom on the sidewalk. So subhanAllah, I did a reflection, and I'll share that later. When I was in my first week of undergrad as a transfer, I was a junior at UC Davis. It was September 2011. I was on that campus for 5 days, Monday to Friday. And I came home, I said, Khalas, I gotta put pen to the paper. So that come. My respected brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of His commandments are for our own benefit. There's nothing Allah commands us to do. There's nothing Allah tells us to stay away from, except that's in our benefit. Even if our quote-unquote minds and intelligence and our emotions and our nafs and our shahwat tell us otherwise. So the temptation of the opposite gender was what Iblis, la'anahullah, started to get our mother and father Adam and Hawa out of Jannah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that فَدَلَّهُمَا بِغُرُورٍ فَلَمَّا ذَاقَ الشَّجَرَةَ بَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا وَطَفِقَا يَخْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ وَنَادَاهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا أَلَمْ أَنْهَكُمَا عَنْ تِلْكُمُ الشَّجَرَةِ وَأَقُلْ لَكُمَا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمَا عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. The objective Shaitan had when Adam and Hawa ate from that fruit, and he lied to them and he said, if you eat this, you're going to live forever and be angels. And they thought we could worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forever. But Allah said their two private part areas became exposed. Their clothes Allah took away from them because of that sin. And Shaitan uses that because when a human being is driven by his shahwat and his carnal pleasures, he can become worse than Adam. And we've seen that. So that's from the history. And in our Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal, our book, He says, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. That from the things that have been made, adorned, and decorated, and beautified from the desires of people that they love is number one, Nisa. That is the biggest, trial for men. That I don't know a man who's right with himself and he'll say, yeah, I can live without a woman, except Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam. Before he left this world, he was amongst those who did not marry, and also Yahya ibn Zakaria. Allah, He said that يا زكريا إنا نبشرك بغلام اسمه يحيى لا فنادته الملائكة وهو في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وحسورا. This word حسورا is one scholar defined. He does not have a haja, a innate inclination, desire to women. So he's an exception. From all of the prophets, Allah, besides, He said, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. We have sent prophets before you, and indeed we made for them wives and offspring. So this is the nature of human beings. So the desire of a man for a woman, Allah, He said, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهْوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Now in this verse, Burhanuddin al-Biqa'i, may Allah have mercy on him, in Nadm al-Durra, he mentions that why didn't Allah He say also مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالرِّجَالِ? Because it's natural. A woman can be inclined and attracted to a man based on his looks. But he mentioned, rahimahullah, it's from hikmah, which is something that's really missing in this Western society, is that the asl for a woman is sitr. A woman, the default is that her aib or her fault or her, weaknesses are not publicized. It's not publicized. Not to say they're not accountable. And I know some people might hear this and lash back about what they don't like about feminists and whatnot. That's not my point. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, when He talked about Adam alayhi salam's story with Shaitan in Surah Taha, He said, وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. Adam disobeyed his Lord, and he went and, I don't want to mistranslate it, you can look at the translation, فَغَوَى ثُمَّ اجْتَبَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَتَبَعَهُ. Again, He said, why didn't Allah mention the name of Hawa? She disobeyed Allah. وَنَادَاهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا أَلَمْ أَنْهَكُمَا عَنْ تِلْكُمُ الشَّجَرَ وَأَقُلْ لَكُمَا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمَا عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Allah said, addressing both Adam and Hawa, the duel in Surah Al-A'raf, their Lord called both of them, did I not forbade you from eating from that tree? Both of you. But the reason He said that, Allah said Adam disobeyed his Lord, why? Because a woman is covered. Her error is covered. And as you know, women are covert more than overt, and indirect and direct. But the point is, that doesn't mean women don't have a desire for the opposite gender, even though the word rijal was not put in that verse in Surah Al-Imran. So my respected listeners, when it comes to the visual attraction of a man to a woman, indeed, with every great difficulty and test comes great rewards. But the point is to have a determination that no matter what comes, it could be like beauty to the 100 exponent. What Allah said, I gotta rock with it. I gotta do what Allah said. I have to obey my Lord, because that's what's best for me and everybody. And it's not a circumstantial thing. And I'm not here preaching like I'm part of the choir. I got me a whole lot of work I gotta do. But I know that this is an ummah that Allah gave honor, because why? كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. Enjoying the good, forbid the evil together. Alhamdulillah, through the era we live in now, this is not the optimum way. I still believe that there is much more effect in the person-to-person interaction, but this is another way that we can utilize that. So coming back, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had mentioned that ما تركت فتنة بعدي هي أضر على الرجال من النساء. There is no trial or tribulation I have left behind that is more harmful and dangerous to the deen of a man than a woman. And that doesn't mean women are innately evil. As you know, الدنيا كلها متاع وخير متاعها المرأة الصالحة. The best of this world can offer the righteous woman. Even some say it's not a hadith marfu', but some say one righteous woman is equal to 70 righteous men. كُمِّلَ مِنَ النساء كُمِّلَ مِنَ الرجال كثير. Many men attain excellence and perfection. وَلَمْ يُكْمَلْ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ إِلَّا أَرْبَعَةٌ. 4 women in history attained that. So long story short, the test is there. And even now with being on the phone, on the internet, subhanAllah, people say that lowering the gaze, G-A-Z-E, is more difficult on a screen than in person. Because it just went crazy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the believers in the Quran, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ ذَلِكَ أَزْكَىٰ لَهُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا يَصْنَعُونَ. Tell the believing men they should avert from some of their gaze. Min tab'id. When it's prohibited, don't look. Don't mean you can't look all the time, or don't look at what's halal from Allah's creation. But when Allah prohibited that, then we don't look. Why? Allah, He said that the next thing He said, وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ, that will guard the chastity of their reproductive organs. And He said, ذَلِكَ أَزْكَىٰ لَهُمْ, that is pure for them. There is no more pure way than what Allah decided. إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا يَصْنَعُونَ. Allah is well acquainted of what they do. But the same next ayah, Allah, He said, وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. The women also, the female believing women, must also avert from their gaze. And that وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُمْ, that will lead them to guard their chastity. And He said, and then the ayah of hijab continues, who she can reveal her adornment to and whatnot. But in the Quran, whenever a verb, fi'al amr, a command is given addressing the masculine audience, by default in the language it includes the women. But in this command, Allah gave a special commandment to the women as well, using the fi'al amr directed to the third party group of women, to show how important it is. And the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that من غض بصره عن محاسنة امرأة أبدله الله إيمانا يجد حلاوة الإيمان. The thing halawat al-iman is so precious that some of the righteous Salaf, I don't know which of, if there was a specific Sahabi that said it, some people attribute it, but I know for a fact that Ibrahim ibn Adham and Qadi Abu Yusuf rahimahullah Yaqub, they said to each other, they were on the Euphrates, I think the bank of the Euphrates River, and they had dipped a dry piece of bread in the river water and bit on that. Like, imagine what type of income you're getting by. Like, this is food and they're fully content with Allah. But what was more important to them, they said that if the kings and the sons of the kings knew what we feel in the sweetness of Iman, they would try to peel it from our bodies with swords. So this halal Iman, the Prophet, he said, whoever averts his gaze from the beauty of a woman that is not halal for him, Allah will replace it with the sweetness of Iman in his heart. It's not like that. The beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far above the beauty of His creation. So, this is an incentive to remember. And there's many benefits of Ghadd al-Basar. Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions in Rawdat al-Muhibbeen, he mentions 10 of them. And I think one of his other books, I can't remember which other one he put it in. But there's many benefits in there. itself, when it has not left off the prohibited desires of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah has prohibited, then it's going to incline to that which is not good for it. But the believer, whenever he has a struggle or she has a struggle with the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it comes down, when they have a struggle with the muharramat, what Allah prohibited, then it comes down to khawf min Allah. The first stage, to have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far above a short-term and short-lived pleasure, carnal pleasure. That Allah, He says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. Whoever transgresses the bounds of Allah's commandments and prefers this lower life of this dunya, then their abode is the hellfire. Of course, if they did not die with Islam or repent before, then they will not be forgiven of their wrong. But He said, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. Whoever fears the day they stand before their Lord. There's two things, I forget which of the pious predecessors said, if you think of two things, it will keep you away from all wrong. Number one, death. Number two, if you think you're going to stand before Allah on the day of judgment. So whoever fears the day he will be standing before his Lord, the position of his Lord, and he suppresses his nafs, the lower desires, their abode is Jannah. That's all it comes down to. And subhanAllah, Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah has many great collections of reports on how this fear of Allah can repel a believer from the prohibited desire and even zina, having illicit relations, and al-kaba'ir. One of them, I don't know who of the muhaqqiqun has graded it, but there's a report he mentioned in, I believe, Sunan ibn Majah, that the people who did zina in the day of judgment, when they get punished, they're going to be hung by their genitals, like a hook. They're going to be hung by their genitals. They're going to scream and scream and scream out of pain, and the angels will tell them that because you were laughing when you used this to disobey Allah, and you didn't think of the fear of Allah, that's what you're going to get now. You were supposed to think of fearing Allah then, that would have kept you out of it. Paraphrase more or less. And a great example of this is Yusuf ibn Yaqub alayhi salam. Wallah, it is amazing. The one who has ma'rifah of Allah, they do, sometimes somebody see an unhuman type of athletic play. He dunked from the 3-point line. He did a 720. He did, all these Olympic type of, record-breaking feats. Wallah, the arifin of Allah, the people who know Allah, they do things we's like, wow, I compare myself. Am I human and he human? Something ain't up. But Yusuf alayhi salam, the hormones of a teenager. They say he was around the age of 15. Alayhi salam. And Allah, He mentioned before the story of him and Imra'atul Aziz in Surah Yusuf, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. When he attained the age of maturity, Allah said we gave him one was hukum, and then second ilma. He put the hukum before ilma. And so many of the mufassirun mentioned the hukum is the application of the knowledge. Before Allah mentioned that he got the knowledge, Allah taught him how to apply it. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And that's how Allah rewards the muhsineen, the good doers. So what he said was, not what he said, but the situation was that he's in the house of one of the highest officials in the land, and by human nature, people of a higher caliber status, naturally, men are gonna attract a more beautiful and attractive, physically attractive and appearing woman. So he's in that house, Allah, He said, وَرَاوَدَتْهُ الَّتِي هُوَ فِي بَيْتِهَا عَنْ نَفْسِهِ وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابَ قَالَتْ هَيْتَ لَكَ قِرَاءَةُ هَيْتَ لَكَ وَقِرَاءَةُ هَيْتَ لَكَ. She went after him. She locked the doors behind him. She beautified herself. It's one of the most amazing things I read. I think it was Al-Bukhari also. Look at this scenario, okay? One is any desire that a young teenage man has, a young teenager has, for the opposite gender. You already know what that's like. I remember when I was in high school in the early 2000s, they used to have, for the non-Muslim students on public school, they had a condom giveaway program. There was nothing left for them non-Muslims. It was they couldn't even supply enough for what they wanted to do. So what I'm saying is the teenager hormones, we already know. But Yusuf alayhi salam, one, the woman wanted him, okay? 2, she's a woman of beauty. 3, she's a woman of status. When a woman has high status and she pursues a man, that's even more challenging. 4, Yusuf is a position of a slave in society. When a slave is guilty of a crime, it's not the same way as a free person. On top of that, 5, Yusuf, he was away from his family and his close associates. Nobody knows him in this land. So if his rumor or his reputation goes out, it's not as bad as you being in a place and everybody knows you. All these factors came. And of his youth. But what was the thing that got Yusuf out of there? The first thing he said, Allah, I seek Allah protection. It's about Allah. It's not about biology. It's not about no hormones. It's that Inni Abdullah. If we're a true servant of Allah, it don't matter. It's gonna come. It's gonna come because why? The Ibn Qayyim described the Rawdatul Muhibbin. The man, how can he save himself from zina? When Allah, He said, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. That Allah describes zina is a path. It don't happen like you just bam in the split of a finger from point A to point Z, 1 to 100. It's a path. But what he said that keeps a man away from that is a man, his intelligence and his mind is overpowering and domineering his desire. So a lot of times that Muslim who stays chaste, and when I was in high school and lower education growing up, it was easy to be called the word of a homosexual. And now it's a whole nother climate now. It's a whole nother climate. I don't know what people are being told because it is LGBTQ and all kind of stuff. But it was very easy to be called that. But in reality, that's a sign of a man. Rijal. Sadaqallahu alayhi. When you make a covenant with Allah, you keep that covenant, and the whole society laugh at you. If Allah pleases with you, you're successful. So he said it's a man who controls his mind, controls his desire. That's what keeps him moving. So he gotta think forward. It's not about a bunch of emotions and urges and you gotta think long term. So Yusuf alayhi salam, maybe I missed one of the ones, but he said it was 8 factors. And all those factors, it was in his favor, aside from the command of Allah, that she wanted him. And he said, قال معاذ الله, I seek the protection of Allah. إنه ربي أحسن مثواي. Either the dhamir goes back to the husband of the woman. He is my master, and he has given me a good condition. أحسن مثواي, or he's been good to me. إنه لا يفلح الظالمون. Indeed, the wrongdoers, they never succeed. Well, Allah, He said that لولا أن رأى كذلك لنصرف عنه السوء والفحشاء إنه من عبادنا المخلصين. وفي قراءة مخلص, because Yusuf has sincerity to Allah. Sincerity is not just praying salah for Allah or giving zakah for Allah. That's good. Sincere to Allah. في أعمال القلوب, in the actions of the heart. That Allah is the one, only for Him. I got everything against me. I got this woman lying against me, claiming I raped her. Even the only little kid of the family gave a witness that I was innocent, and they still put me in jail. But Yusuf, Allah, he said, we turned away from him. كذلك نصرف عنه السوء, the evil, والفحشاء, and indecency. إنه من عباد المخلصين. He is from our chosen servants. Allah said, al-mukhlisin, because he was sincere, Allah chose him. So respected brothers and sisters, wallahi, this one thing when you looking, just trying to mind your business, driving straight on the road, and somebody coming across dressed like they would be in their bathroom or their bedroom, wallahi, there's something going on. The human being, like they can be ahsan. Allah, he said, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. They created the best of fashion, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. But they can be the lowest of the low, إِلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, except those who believe and do righteous actions. So anyway, I'm going to conclude with this. I'm going to do this, and then we're going to do the poetry. But subhanAllah, it was so hot today. I know some places got it way hot. Way more hot than this. I was talking to one of my teachers, I won't mention his name because of his humility. He is in one part of the world, they had no electricity for many days. They can't even sleep at night. They got no electricity, no fan, no fridge, no. There's places other that I might not even know with heat waves. La ilaha illallah. But remember, the hellfire is way more hot. The riwayah of Bukhari, 70 more times in the fire. This dunya is hotter than that. The riwayah of Imam Muslim Ahmed, 100 times hotter. It's been kindled till it was white. Then it was kindled till it was red for 1,000 years. Then kindled till it was white. Then kindled till it was black. For here, so that mother is pitch black in the fire. So that's something, I don't know, nobody want to be there. But as they say, actions speak louder than words. When somebody think of that, my meeting with Allah, wallahi, that's what get that believer through any of the trials of this dunya. Through any of the trials of the dunya. No count if only they understood. Allah talked about the munafiqun, but they didn't want to go to Tabuk. You gotta understand. إن الله يحب معالي الأمور ويكره سفها. Allah loves the high, prioritized matters, the utmost important matters, and He likes those that are low and mundane, not important. So this is one thing it taught me a lesson. I think this was like 4 years ago, maybe, I can't be sure, 2020, 2021. It's an OG Muslim brother. May Allah bless him a lot. He's 75 years old. And as a human being, naturally, you want a companion. An insan, the word insan, some say the derivative is uns, to have intimacy, social intimacy. That's human nature. So alhamdulillah, he's had a marriage and children before, but at this stage in his life, he's looking for a companion. So it's not easy in America, especially in this part of the country I live in, the Bay Area, to find somebody who's available at that stage in life. It's not easy. But alhamdulillah, there's nothing wrong with it. So that brother put in a request a long time ago. He was like, look, nephew, if you ever meet or come across a woman who was willing to marry me, he was 75 years of age. Mind you, he was he had a certain disability. He had a hip replacement. They said, let me know. I said, hey, I didn't look down at him. I was trying to paint a picture back to where this story began. So years later, like he told me that before, but the interaction I'm bringing now, years later, a woman messaged one of the masjid's Facebook account that I was one of the admins, volunteers answering. She said, I'm looking for a Muslim husband and he should be over the age of 65. So I only knew one person, and I said, look, are you interested? So the point in coming back to lowering the gaze, he said, is she beautiful? I was like, bruh, in my mind, you 75 years old. I mean, one time beauty, yeah, it's there. But at this age, he's like, no, I can't do it. So I'm saying it's a lifelong experience. What I'm about to share now, this was me writing in my early 20s. And mind you, I'm not really a writer. Before I ever got the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to try to learn Quran and study it, my go-to was a Sony Walkman AA battery with headphones. You get one CD before there was ever Spotify and digital database of music for this many gigabytes. It was one CD, man. And I was big, I got one and all, but before I ever had a chance to be part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's servants, to have some connection with the Masjid, I was big on lyrics and hip-hop. An MC to me that had great lyrical prowess, that was bigger to me than any slapping beat instrumental. So anyway, that's why I'm just giving an intro. When I wrote this, I don't use musical instruments, but these lyrics was as if it was in the genre and the style. So anyway, without further ado, I said, looking at the sun, wishing it go away. I see it after winter, sometime before May. Even though it's Allah's tool in the means of life, I can't throw in the towel because I'm not ready for a wife. Because whenever it's out, man, skin is in. I'm 22 years and counting, my patience running thin. It seemed the lower I keep my gaze, the higher his shoulders raised. My defense shut down, I audible some new plays. So I elevate my eyes up into the skies. I'm focused on the prize, and I'm just too wise to be staring at her thighs, breasts, hips, and apple bottom. Houston, I think we have a problem. Isn't it a shame she paid money for a dress that doesn't even cover her breasts? And yes, she really thinks she's dressed, but blessed is not she who got junk in the trunk, flirting at the bar until she get drunk. Next morning waking up lying next to some punk. She knows the truth, but she faking the funk. Oh, so you think men are dogs, but I say women hold the leash. The Vic did his time, girl, why should you be free? My lips are sealed, your turn to speak. I was a bit harsh, but don't turn the other cheek. If beauty truly lies skin deep, then amazing grace belongs to the women who veil their faces, embodiments of wise investors, richer than Chase, bank ranked far ahead of the rest. She rises in Mecca while they set in the West. So give Christian Dior back his cheap foundation. After my oration, go build you a new reputation by treating yourself to the finest makeover of our time. Her name is Islam, she'll make you a diamond of a diamond. Ask yourself this: what's more valuable, the cover of a magazine or your dignity? Cause sweetheart, ain't no refund for losing your virginity. So choose your lifestyle very carefully, and if his song had a message, it would not need a melody. Single is not she without a ring on her finger, nor a future bride. Rather she who didn't have Tawheed man inside before she died. The fact is, Allah's the only one there for you when your cycle stretches out farther than the acrobat. After 30 weeks of carrying his baby, that said, my girl is fat. No one works for unpaid hours, so why grow a garden that doesn't bear flowers? Pressure keep coming from my peers, telling me to live up my college years. Looking at them girls, but I know I can't touch. Soon as we separate, yo, I got a strong hunch that behind closed doors, getting down on all fours. Getting down on all fours. Dua is denied. Dua is not answered. Anti-Tazkiyah cancer. Exotic dances and torn the connection between them and Allah. They forgot the teachings of Muhammadur Rasulullah, that all shall perish and none shall remain, except he who ordained that young money, Drizzy and Wayne, need to abstain and refrain from chasing every girl from Bahrain and Ukraine, because the next stop is the Akhirah. We all on the train. Is he gay? She may wonder. Excuse me, but rotten fruit doesn't satisfy my hunger. And just so I happen to be a mammal, don't mean I get down like one on the Discovery Channel. Pistachio, macadamia, a cashew. The fact is, bull, when he's through your shower, I'll last longer than of what he gave you. Even if life is a box of chocolates, my flavors are limited, bittersweet. My grave hardly visited, a righteous ending on how I pray. As I breathe my last, the kalima I say, music to my ears, followed by tears, hearing Allah's voice after all of these years on my slave. No more stress, grief, no pain. I shall enter you into Jannah forever. Shall you remain in reign of a kingdom of all your heart desires, in exchange and return for burning in the fire of temptation. Yeah, you abstain so hard, you find it so well, you train. So girl, keep on making his whistle blow and strutting them heels, cause you just don't know how good it feels to have the sweetness of faith inside of your heart. Anyone can obtain it, but before you start, remember Qalbun Salim is the finest art, far too valuable to be hung on any wall, rather attached to the throne of the divine, most appreciative, his radiance sublime. Lifetime contract, I'm still standing in line, for I can hardly wait for the day that I can sign on the dotted line. Dear beloved of mine, please accept my blood, sweat, tears, and the bowing of my spine, for just one glance at your majestic face is a bargain for this amazing race. So rise up and dare to be different, for on the day of judgment, as humanity cries in grief, sighs of relief won't come from the thief who betrayed his Lord with treachery, his fate in jeopardy, his ransom in disguise, belonging to a real man who never spoke lies. Surprise to see Allah in the Akhirah. In this dunya, we must guard our eyes. That's the end of it. So anyway, that's for I hope Allah accept from me, as Ali radiallahu anhu said, it's not a marfu' hadith, but ash-shi'ru bimanzilati al-kalam, that poetry is the status of speech. If it's good poetry, it's like good speech, and if it's bad poetry, it's like bad speech. So may Allah give us all afaf. That's just a reflection that today I put on too long and too much heavy clothes in this heat. 2 thobes. Some people call a man named 2 Chains. I don't go with 2 Chains. I like 2 thobes. And this for the Akhud. All the brothers struggling and continue to struggle, just know, be sincere to Allah. Be sincere to Allah. Delay gratification. And don't submit to that desire. Do the opposite. And that includes even if they're married. Some single brothers thought, oh, if I get married, I ain't gonna have. Nah, it's a big time challenge, brother. Because now you have seen the land of, I don't know, milk and honey, and that temptation is gonna be with you in and out. But we gotta get there. And as the closing word, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Sab'atun, Allah says in Hadith Qudsi, Sab'atun, oh sorry, the Prophet says, Sab'atun yudhilluhum Allah fi dhilli, yawma la dhilla illa dhillu, wa minhum rajulun da'athu imra'atun dhatu mansabin wa jalal faqala inni khaf. Imagine how hot it is now. Imagine a day, 50,000 years, the sun gonna be over the heads of people like a meal. The Rawi, he said, I don't know if that's a meal in the metric distance, or the stick that you put in the perfume or cologne fragrance, and you take that out, it's gonna be sweat. That one place is shade, the shade of Allah. One of that group, a man who was caught by a woman of beauty and status to fulfill the evil act of zina, and he said, Inni khaf la afirullah. Wallahu al-musta'an alayhi tuklan, wa la hawla wa quwwata illa bih. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله.